Congress has sent President Barack Obama a bipartisan spending bill that averts a federal shutdown. But a new deadline looms: failure of a deficit supercommittee to agree on a $1.2 trillion in cuts by Wednesday could lead to a stock market freefall or worse. And here more to explain is Carl Bonham, the executive director of the University of Hawaii Economic Research Organization. Good morning, Dr. Bonham, and thanks for joining us.
Morning.
So we've been hearing all about the supercommittee, and there's this looming deadline. So what exactly is the supercommittee?
So you may remember last summer when we were trying to avoid, we needed to raise the debt ceiling. Basically, the agreement set up this joint select committee on deficit reduction. And the idea was that they were going to be charged with reducing the federal deficit by $1.2 trillion over a decade. It's a bipartisan committee. They have to come up with a plan by next Wednesday. And then that plan has to be voted on by Congress within a month. And that vote would be with no filibusters, no amendments, just an up or down vote. So essentially it's kind of passing the buck to this 12-member committee, make them come up with a plan.
And it sounds like the exact same thing that Congress is in last summer, as you mentioned. So are they in the same rut, essentially?
They are. The Democrats came out and essentially put on the table the Obama plan, which was about a $3 trillion deficit reduction plan with about $1 trillion in increased tax revenue. So about 30% of the deficit reduction coming from revenues. Republicans said, no way, we're not raising taxes, certainly not by $1 trillion. We've had some progress where the Republicans are now agreeing to some increase in tax revenues, about $300 billion out of $1.2 billion in deficit reduction, so about 25%. So on the surface, it doesn't look like they're that far apart, but the devil's in the details.
Right.
And they're debating over, okay, what's the starting point? Is it Bush tax cuts continue, Bush tax cuts go away? So they're still, and you don't have perfect information because it's mostly sort of dueling press conferences at this point.
And what about more details? Because you have the Democrats on one side and the Republicans on the other side, and it looks like the Republicans, their focus is a little more narrow in terms of some of the details.
And as I said, the real battle right now is, okay, are we going to make the Bush tax cuts permanent or not permanent? What they're doing is they're starting to sort of maneuver in case they fail. And what they're talking about now is, okay, let's hit a target. Let's come up with a target for how much additional tax revenue, and then let's punt. Let's let the money committees of Congress, the Ways and Means and the Finance committees, decide actually how to revamp the tax code to hit that target.
And if they don't make this deadline, serious repercussions, right?
Yeah, if they don't, the plan was set up to try and force them to reach the deadline. If they don't, then we get automatic spending cuts. And the automatic spending cuts will be large and fairly near term. So beginning in January 2013, we could start seeing cuts in military spending of up to $400 to $500 billion and discretionary spending of the same amount. And so now there's maneuvering to try and avoid that.
Well, it's definitely something that we're monitoring, and thanks for giving us more information on that. Dr. Carl Bonham from UHERO. We'll see you guys next Friday. And if you'd like to find out what else the economists at UHERO are tracking, you can head to their Facebook page. You can also find a link to their website on the As Seen On section of KITV.com. It is 6:38.